So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are a bit late according to the program, but it's a pleasure to welcoming you, and thanks for joining this session on behalf of the European leagues. And of course, we seize the opportunity to thank Soccerex that give us the opportunity to use this platform for what is an important day for us, because you are all aware about the hot topic of the summer and of the spring, I would say. During the past 7 months, there has been discussion in the football family regarding the evolution of the European club competitions and the future European club competition. And we have decided to use today the platform of Soccerex actually to present our ideas, our values, and more important, our principles related to the future of European club competition and how we do believe the game should develop and evolve in the upcoming future. This session will be organized basically in 3 parts. I will welcome now our President, Lars-Christer Olsson. They will, of course, put the subject into context. And then our Managing Director, Jakob Svart, will go through the detailed principles and the interlinked factors of UEFA club competition. And then finally we'll have me on stage again at the end to present our new Support Your League platform that will be launched today. And I welcome on stage our President, Lars-Christer Olsson. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alberto. Hello, everybody. It's very nice to be back in Lisbon. I fell in love with this country in the preparations for the 2004 European Championships, and it has stayed the same all the time. And I also always feel welcome when I'm coming here, even if I spend more time in Cascais than in Lisbon. But and that should be okay, I hope. So we are now going to talk about the future of European club competitions as we see it, and how we think that the processes should be for the future decisions. So today we will give this presentation. I will talk about some general matters and some of the politics around the decision making, and Jaakko will make the more precise presentation of how we actually would like to see it developing. We are going to present a model which is based on principles rather than detailed competition technicalities. We are not going to discuss formats with you, or we are not going to discuss principles for qualifications or the detail for qualifications. We stick to the principles because we are believing that if you are going to make a, let's say, revision, or you are going to make a new form for the European club competitions, it has to start with the principles. You cannot start discussing the access list. You cannot start discussing the finances before you have decided and discussed the matters which are fundamental for football and how you would like to see the European football develop. And now my green button is not developing very well, but yeah, here it came. So what we are saying, we are protecting the European sports model with a proper connection between the domestic competitions and the European competitions. This means, in short, that we are not in favor of having a closed league at the top of European competitions, for example. We think that the domestic competitions should be the foundation for the European competitions. And I think perhaps we should have a short recap on what happened in the decision-making procedure in the recent past. And I start before Christmas in 2018, because at the Executive Committee meeting in Dublin, the UEFA Executive Committee decided to introduce a new format for the club competitions from 2021. And I think this is important because what is decided for 21 to 24 is equally important as the discussion we have had in the summer, in the spring, about what is going to happen after 24. So it was decided that the format should be different. We should have 3 divisions in the European competitions. It was also decided that the financial distribution should be decided later, and it should only affect the Europa League 1 and 2, the 2 divisions on the bottom, so to speak, and no changes in the Champions League. And we argued that you cannot decide on a format without simultaneous discussions about the financial distribution, because they are affecting each other. And we had limited success with our proposal, because the decision was about the format, and the decision was also that we should delay the discussions and the decisions about the financial distribution. Now, last week in the club committee of UEFA, it was decided to establish a working group looking into the financial distribution for 21-23, and it was also decided that it should include the Champions League. So this is why I'm sitting there on the presentation, limited success, because I think in one way or another they have been listening to our arguments. So now the working group has the task to discuss the financial distribution of all the 3 competitions, which we think is extremely important for the future. It's also important for what's going to happen after 24. In early 2019, this year, there was rumors starting saying that UEFA and the ECA were preparing a radical form of the UEFA club competitions. Important guests. It's good to have you here. You're Portuguese also, so you're walking like as if it was in your own home, isn't it? Yeah. Yes. The UEFA reform proposal was first presented by UEFA to the European Club Association Board, but it was not made public. However, it was confirmed by the ECA president or chairman, the principles for the competition. So when that happened, the discussions took speed, we can say it, because then we knew what was coming up in the proposal. So this is when the heat map got very hot in the spring. The second presentation was made for the European Leagues Board of the Directors, and the third presentation was made to the UEFA member associations. These are the main stakeholders in this discussion. And after the third presentation, the vision past 2024 was published by UEFA. And I'm trying to convince my battery. Can somebody else move the slides? Thanks. Yeah. And as you all know, and as also Alberto said, the discussions around the proposal for past 24 was very intense in the spring and in the summer. A meeting was planned for September 11th actually, for the main stakeholders to meet and have a discussion, because I think originally it was thought that all the ideas about the competition would have been ready to discuss in September this year. It is now postponed, and I think that's a good decision, because I think it's not ready for the discussions. And I think, if I should guess, there will be no decisions made in 2019. I think Giorgio Marchetti was here yesterday and was confirming that. I would rather think that in the summer, 2020 or somewhere, this would probably be the earliest possible time to decide on the future club competitions. So now we are of the opinion that it's time to listen to all the stakeholders, and that to introduce a proper process which actually should start with the principles for the competitions. And we are definitely going to be a part of that discussion, of course. And today we make our proposal, and Jaco will do that in a couple of minutes. And we think that this is a constructive and sustainable proposal, which means that we can continue building on that for the future after 24. As I said before, it's based on principles protecting the European sports model. And the vital thing for us is the interaction between the domestic competitions and the European competitions. So, yeah, now the battery was so quick that it went away to it. Now I can be back, it's easier. So now we say that all the stakeholders should be involved in a proper and transparent process to make their contribution to the ideas and the solutions for the benefit of professional football as a whole in Europe. That is important. So I think I know that our principles, which you are now going to see, are supported by all the member leagues, all the professional leagues, the vast majority of the clubs being members in our leagues, the football fans of Europe. We are continuously having discussions with fans. We are inviting the fans to our club advisory platforms, for example, and they are participating with us in the discussion on how to form the future European club competitions. And many of the national associations who are now sending proposals to UEFA on their views on how the competition should be organized are actually also basing their proposals on principles. The same thing we are going to do now, because I'm sure that the national associations are having the same opinion as we have. So let us now take a look at the proposal, and I would like our general manager, Jakob Schwartz, to do that. Be careful with this thing, because it's not necessarily working.
So this is most
Most
challenging,
yeah,
I would say.
Use the red one if you don't know anything else.
Thank you, Lars Christer. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your introduction and explanation on how the process looked like so far, and where we are aiming for, the proper process. And it's a pleasure that I can have the opportunity to talk you through all the work which has been done by the European leagues, supported by a working group of our leagues over the past months, in order to prepare this proposal for you today, which we're going to announce today. And like Lars Christer already explained a few times to you, it's not going to be a very detailed proposal. So don't expect access lists on whatever country is going to qualify for whatever competition in very detailed, but it's on principles. And we think, as explained, first we must agree on principles, and then we can continue our discussions to form and on the technicalities in every competition. We defined a couple of starting points which are very important from a European league's position point of view. 3, to be specific. The first one is that we are here to protect the interest of the domestic competition, of the domestic leagues. This is our first starting point, which we use to define our proposal. The second one is that we would like and we want to increase participation. We want to give more clubs the opportunity to play in European club competitions in the future. And the third one is that we are very much in favor, and we believe that we must have a more fair distribution model, including a better solidarity system. So out of these 3 starting points, we have been keeping this in mind in every discussion we had so far, and out of this we make our proposals, which you can see right here. We really are convinced that now it's the time, and Lars Christer spoke about a proper consultation process. Our definition of a proper consultation process is that UEFA has to find an agreement with its stakeholders on all the interlinked factors. And we see 4 interlinked factors if it is about UEFA club competition. The first one is the interlinked factor on format and access. And I will go more into detail after this slide on all these 4 interlinked factors. The second one is the calendar. When is which competition scheduled and is going to be played, how many match days? You can imagine all the things related to the match calendar, which is congested already. The third one, here it is on financial distribution and solidarity. And I'll go more into detail about this one as well, of course. And the fourth one is on the coefficient system. The coefficient system, which is very important and very well related today to both access to the competitions as well as to the financial distribution system, and we have certain opinions, of course, about this. All factors are interlinked, so we have to look at them at the same time. It cannot be the case that we first decide on one or two of these factors and then later, in a later stage, on the other ones. So you must make a decision only when you have a proposal on all the interlinked factors at the same time. They must be decided together in agreement, once again, with all the stakeholders. Let me elaborate a little bit more on format and access first. There we are. What we really believe is that access to UEFA club competitions must be based on qualification from the domestic competitions. Qualification from the domestic competitions for every edition and every competition in the UEFA club competition system. Secondly, we believe that the total number of clubs which can participate and will participate in UEFA club competitions could increase or should increase to a range of between 128 and 144. This is also a very good example of the level of principle and not the level of detail we have been discussing UEFA club competitions so far, because it shows a range. We are not saying it should be this number or it should be this number. We believe we could find and must find a solution with all stakeholders within this range somewhere. And as a consequence of having more clubs giving access to the group stages of the several UEFA club competitions, you can also increase the number of national associations which have at least one guaranteed spot in one of the group stages of one of the competitions. Here we mentioned the number of 49. This is not a number we put out of our blue sky. We have well considered access lists behind this, so we believe that almost all national associations, member national associations of UEFA, in our new system would have at least one group stage spot in one of the competitions. In addition to those 3 points, we also believe in the system of having a 3-tier competition. I'll try to show you that. Here it is. A 3-tier competition is welcomed by the European leagues as a system. It is going to happen as from 21. We are all aware of this, 3 times 32, and we believe that we must remain in a 3-tier system and then with a higher number of clubs in the system as a whole. We also believe that the maximum number of clubs to have access from one individual national association should be limited on the number of 7, as it is today, in fact. And we believe that access to the UEFA club competitions should be equal for the top 5 national associations, the 5 biggest leagues and the national associations in Europe. We do not believe in a system of relegation within UEFA club competitions. So no relegations from Champions League to Europe League, no relegation from Europe League to Europe League 2, which is still a working title, of course. We see promotion from one to the other UEFA club competition only as it is today, that the winner of Europe League promotes to the Champions League, qualifies for the Champions League of last season, but no others promote from one competition to the other. So only for the UEFA Europe League title holder, as it is today, and as from 21 and further on from 24, this could happen as well for Europe League 2 title holder. it also means that only UEFA Champions League title holder, from our point of view, remains in the system and is qualified automatically, if not qualified via his performance in this domestic league, directly through Champions League. So those are the principles on format and access we defined for the UEFA club competitions. Now let me move on to the next interlinked factor, which is calendar. There it is. On calendar, we seriously believe that the total number of match days for UEFA club competition must remain at a maximum of 25 match days. And match days is not literally a match days, because we understand that in a match week you have UEFA club competitions on a Tuesday, a Wednesday and a Thursday. This is also very much relating, of course, that we, being those who protect the interest of the domestic leagues, are strongly convinced that UEFA club competitions must be played during weekdays, with the exception of the UEFA Champions League final as it is today, and that the weekends in general belong to the domestic competitions, with the exception of the national team competitions as it is this week. In addition to this, on calendar, we fully understand that if we increase the number of teams to participate in UEFA club competitions, that it will lead automatically to having more matches in UEFA club competitions. Bigger competitions, more matches. We do not believe in having more matches for any individual team or for reaching the group stage for any individual team. So more matches in the system because of more clubs entering into the system, but not more matches for individual clubs. And we believe no more UEFA club competitions match days in the calendar, and also when those match days are scheduled should remain as it is today, to keep the same balance between UEFA club competitions and domestic competitions as it is today. You could divide up the current 25 UEFA club competitions matches into qualification matches, playoff matches, group stage matches, and knockout stage matches. We believe that the number of playoff matches, the combination of playoff matches, group stage matches, and knockout matches should remain at a maximum of 17. And we understand that the commercial value of those matches is totally different than the commercial value of qualification dates. So a possible reduction, which could happen, because if you enter more clubs into the system, you possibly could have less qualification dates, but that should not lead to a transfer from qualification dates to either playoff dates, group stage dates, or knockout stage dates. This is an overview how it is organized today, and to summarize that you have today we have 8 match days which are used for qualification rounds, 2 plus 6, a total of 8 as well for group stage plus playoff, and 7 to 9 depending on the competition are used for knockout stage dates. These are the principles from the European leagues if it concerns everything related to the match calendar, to the calendar. Then on financial distribution and solidarity. You are aware that in the vision presented by UEFA and ECA, nothing was mentioned on this topic. You are also aware, and Lars Christer informed you about it earlier during this presentation, that on distribution for the 21-24 cycle, nothing has been decided, and that now a working group has been installed. And the good news, this working group is going to look at the distribution of the whole competition, of all 3 competitions. We presented our proposal for the 21-24 competition already some time ago, and we agreed on this within one of our general assemblies of the European leagues back in Frankfurt, which was in autumn 2018. We believe that in order to support the overall development of European football and to help improve competitive balance, a fairer distribution model with significantly increased solidarity should be implemented as from that moment onwards, as from the cycle 21-24. We also believe, and we want to stipulate it again, that UEFA must find an agreement between themselves and the stakeholders on the entire financial distribution system for 21-24. So we welcome the fact that now UEFA has decided that this working group is going to look at the whole system and not only at UEFA Europe League and UEFA Europe League 2. Thirdly, we have considered the decision we took back in October 2018, and we have considered there are no fundamental changes between then and now in our position. So we remain with the position we were by then, and we still have the same position. And to give you a brief overview what we decided by then, it looks more or less like this. First of all, we have a position and an opinion about how distribution ratio should be between the competition. And as from 21, there will be three-tier competition from equal size if it comes to number of clubs, 3 times 32. And we believe that the ratio between what a club in average can earn in one competition and the other, between UCL, Champions League, and UEL, Europe League, should be maximum 3.5 to 1. So in average, this means that for every euro which is going to one of the participants in Europe League, 3.5 euro will go to a participant in Champions League. The new competition of UEL2, we also have a position on the ratio between UEL and UEL2, which is a ratio of 2.5 to 1. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you are probably aware that as from the current cycle, within the distribution model of the UEFA club competition, a new coefficient pillar has been introduced, which means that those clubs who have won the most titles in history or in recent history are very much benefiting of this and getting much more revenues compared to other clubs. We believe that this is not a good system. And we believe that it should be removed and that it should be replaced for the market pool which was used before. Not all of us believe that the market pool is the ideal and best system, but we sincerely believe that it is a better system than the current coefficient system. We also believe that it should be consistent across all 3 competitions. On solidarity, today 7.3% of all revenues are used for solidarity. 3.3% out of this, 3.3% is used for solidarity, for payments to all clubs who play in the qualification rounds or the playoff rounds, and 4% is used to distribute amongst those clubs who do not participate in UEFA club competitions. We have a position and we have a decision within the European leagues, and we presented this already a year ago, that we believe that the total percentage of solidarity must increase to a level of 20%. We remain this pillar of qualification rounds. We remain at more or less at the same level, 3.5%. We increase the level for the non-participating clubs from 4% to 10%. And we introduce a new pillar within solidarity payments, which is the pillar of professional football development. And what is very special about this pillar, this last pillar, the professional football development pillar, is that the top 5 leagues give up and redistribute their share of solidarity payments within this professional football development pillar to clubs from other leagues. And of course, this must be based on having a satisfying agreement on the previous conditions. So you can understand there's a big willingness of the big leagues to do so, but they do not do this without finding an agreement on the previous conditions set. This about financial distribution and solidarity so far. The final pillar, the final interlinked factor is on the club coefficient. And I try to find it. Okay, there it is. We believe that further analysis of the club coefficient system is required in order to ensure any proposed changes are in line with our starting points and with our principles. The UEFA club coefficient system should, for instance, not include bonus points from historical titles, as it is today. We also believe that the UEFA club coefficient system should be structured in a manner that distributes available points using a consistent methodology between the competitions, within each competition, and throughout the qualification phase for the competitions. We think it should not be used as a mechanism to distribute prize money from the competition, as it is today. I refer to our position on the historical titles I just mentioned. And finally, we believe that the coefficient system must be based mainly on the performance of an individual club and not on the performance of all the clubs from the same national association or from the same league. So these were the 4 interlinked factors I presented to you. Finally, I would like to make a few conclusions, 3 in fact. The first one is that we, and hopefully you agree with us, that the European leagues, that we are in favor of innovations in football, including evolving the UEFA club competitions. However, we believe that these must be under the condition that any change contributes to the growth of professional football as a whole, and not only to the growth of a few of us, a very few of us. And finally, we urge UEFA, and I think that's clear as well during this message we try to share with you, to find an agreement with the European leagues and with all its stakeholders on all the interlinked factors at the same time. So this is the presentation of our proposal. I'll give the floor back to Alberto to present on the Support Your League platform, which is going to be launched today. And I believe afterwards, if we do have some time available, we have availability for question and answers if requested. Thank you.
Thanks, Jaco. I guess that I can easily start to say that the presentation that Jaco made just now is fully available for the public and for all the stakeholders in the platform that we are launching today. So today is the official moment we are launching this new platform, new tool that, of course, is and has in its main public phase this new website. And you have already the answer why we decided to launch the platform today, exactly because we've decided that today, on this occasion, in this particular momentum, considering the evolution and the story that we have been going through from the spring to now, we believe that today was the right moment to present our principle to the football family. What is this platform and why we decided to do this initiative and present and give actually to the football family this platform at disposal. But first, this platform is a box that contains all the initiatives and activities performed by the European leagues during the last, we'll say, couple of years, but mainly during the last month and weeks. Of course, with the main principle that has been presented today. But more important, during this process, during the past 5-6 months, by speaking with the stakeholders, by speaking with our leagues, by speaking with the clubs, by speaking with the media, by speaking with the fans, we realized that more and more stakeholders were available and were interested to be involved in the discussion, to be involved in the debate. So that when we realized this, we said, why don't we create a public platform that is actually available to all the stakeholders to share their ideas, to share their principle, and of course, those stakeholders that share our main values. And our main values are, of course, this free starting point that were at the beginning of the presentation of Jaco. So that's why the platform is called Support Your League, because our main principle and our main starting point, of course, is we have to protect our domestic leagues. The second value is we want increased participation. We want more clubs from more countries and national associations to participate in European club competition. And we want, of course, a fair, more equal revenue distribution model in order to allow the domestic competition to have a proper competitive balance and allow all the clubs, all professional clubs, to basically compete in a fair environment. Having said that, we structured this platform in this way, and I will ask my colleague Kevin also. We have a few animated maps, and there is a specific reason why we have decided to have animated maps. Because for us, and for the public opinion, it's important to understand that the discussion and the debate over the months and over the years has not been fully focused only and exclusively in the three stakeholders involved in the process, and therefore the European leagues, the ACA and UEFA. No, this debate was running through all over Europe, and our leagues during the last 5-6 months, and currently already today in the upcoming weeks, they are taking the responsibility to gather their clubs and to debate about this issue, about this process, about the evolution of UEFA club competition. Maybe you are not aware because the big news in the media are done maybe by the big leagues, La Liga, the Premier League, the Bundesliga, or maybe you are not aware that several leagues in Europe, they have, let's say, official made declaration and statement regarding this process. So everybody is having the opportunity to have a proper voice into debate. And of course, our leagues, they work with the respective member clubs. And therefore, we have also decided that this is the perfect platform to give voice to member clubs as well. So that we have a session, of course, and I don't need to spend time here because actually the platform is already available so that you can go on with your mobile right now. But basically, there is a session where we are giving voice to the clubs from all over Europe. And you can see from the map, we have clubs from Russia to Portugal, from Scandinavia to Israel. This means that from one side, the opposition to the current plan that are on the table now is consolidated, is structured, is solid, also from a geographical point of view. On the other side, we have several clubs. We used to say the vast majority of clubs, as last Christian and Jaco said, because we can not only listen to the ideas and the proposal of those clubs that are regularly participating in the European club competition. We, as European leagues, we have the responsibility to give voice to all the clubs, all professional clubs in Europe that play at domestic level. We know that the domestic leagues are the ones that are driving the passion of the fans. And of course, it's our responsibility to give voice to all those clubs. Also, those clubs that maybe will have not or will never have the possibility to play at the European level, but still they play at domestic level and they are the base of the game in Europe and in domestic football. I don't take too much time, but I will suggest you also, there is a session where we are presenting and we are opening to the public basically the analysis that we perform on the evolution of UEFA Cup competition through the various cycle, from the previous cycle, 15-18, the current cycle, as Jaco said, and the upcoming cycle. And of course, we have been experiencing through the years a squeezing of the assets list in favor of the top clubs, a squeezing of solidarity, so less money distributed to non-participating clubs, and this is creating an exponential gap between a few rich clubs and all the rest, that of course is creating problems to the competitive balance of the domestic leagues. There is a session that presents our concrete proposal regarding revenue distribution for the cycle 21-24, and Jaco already focused on the main point. And finally, we also believe, since this has been a very, let's say, sexy and hot topic during the world here, we have also taken the responsibility to together and to give voice through the media to all the discussion and the debate. So whether there has been league's president, federation president, head of state, because it has also been the case, coaches, you see, and you probably read about the position taken by a few coaches during the past years, so that there is a complete gathering on how the media follow the process during the past month. And the last, let's say, message that I want to give you is this platform is a living platform. It's aimed to be updated if it's needed on a daily basis. So whenever clubs, leagues, federation, fans are willing to share our values and our principle, this platform is basically at their disposal. It's basically all from my side, and we are together, of course, with our president and Jaco, available if there is any question on the process. And sorry if I take this freedom, I don't know whether we have time, but this is Soccerex, so people should tell us whether there is time for this. 2 minutes, so maybe there is. Yeah. I don't know if there is any question. If not, I thank you for your attention, and I welcome you and suggest you to go through our new platform. Thanks for your attention, and have a good afternoon.